Welcome to the All Out Leadership Podcast, hosted by Pastor Eric Lawson, where each episode is uniquely designed to help you live all out by bringing you practical leadership from a biblical perspective delivered in 10 minutes or less. So whether you're a business leader, serving in ministry, or simply looking to grow in your leadership, this podcast is for you. Before we dive into this week's topic, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and download the show notes at ericlawson.com/podcast. And while you're at it, feel free to share the content on social media. Now, let's join Pastor Eric for this week's conversation.
We come to 2 Samuel chapter 21, verse 15. Glad you're joining us for the All Out Leadership Podcast. And we pick up, when the Philistines were at war again with Israel, David and his servants went with him, fought against the Philistines, and David grew faint. Then Ishbi-benob, who was one of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose bronze spear was 300 shekels, who was bearing a new sword, thought he could kill David. But Abashi, the son of Zeruiah, came to his aid, struck the Philistine, and killed him. We're going to learn several really important lessons from this whole story, and I want to focus on this thought here. This giant spear, 300 shekels, is equivalent to 30 pounds. A college shot put weighs 16 pounds. So this is literally almost twice the weight of a college shot put. That's his spear. That means he could just hurl that and take somebody out. This is a big guy, but it's only half the weight of the spear of Goliath. Now, years later, when David was young, he's 17 years old or so, he killed Goliath easily, but now David is in his latter part of his life. He's probably in his 60s, and he's tired, and he can't quite take on the size of the giants that he used to do. So we learn a couple things here. Number one, the giant you have killed in the past has a brother waiting for you in your future. So he killed Goliath, but Goliath had a brother. Secondly, no matter how many giants you have killed, there will be one eventually too big for you to fight alone. And that's what we're going to look at next week. There are just times that no matter how many giants you've killed, you will come to a situation, a problem that is too big for you to fight alone. Now, what if David had said, you know what? I'm not into groups. I don't need a band of brothers. I'm not into small groups. I'm not into that local church thing. I can do my whole Christianity down at Starbucks by myself. I could just listen to these All Out Leader podcasts and not be connected to anybody and have Bible studies on my own. David would have been dead, and he wouldn't have fulfilled this assignment that God had for him. There are many people being taken out because they're going into battle alone. Yeah, you may have killed Goliath when you were 17. Yeah, you may have been a super giant back then. But as we grow older, we aren't always what we used to be. What often happens is we grow wiser, we grow smarter, but we aren't always at the same stamina that we once had. I've seen a lot of leaders hurt themselves and actually their organizations by not being aware of their physical decline, their mental decline. We could talk about politics right here at this point, but you know me, I don't do that kind of stuff. So it's very important that we are self-aware as leaders and just realize, hey, look, as we get older, we should be getting wiser, but it doesn't actually mean we're better than when we were 17. And we're going to pick up with some important thoughts next week on this. So Ecclesiastes 4:9 reminds us, two are better than one, for if they fall, one will lift up his companion, but woe to him who falls when he is alone, for he has no one to help him up. Though one may be overpowered by another, two can stand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So what I want to encourage you, who is in your life? Who are you doing life with? Are you in a small group? Are you with a band of brothers or sisters that are like-minded in Christ, iron sharpening iron, so that they have your back? Because there will come a day that you run into Goliath's brother, and it's just going to be too big for you. Who has your back when you're down? See you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the All Out Leadership Podcast. We hope you gained new biblical insight that challenged you to grow in your leadership. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, we would love your help in getting the content out farther. You can help by subscribing to the podcast at ericlawson.com/podcast and telling others about it. Next week, Pastor Eric will be back with another episode. So until then, we hope you have a great week being an all-out leader.